Welcome back to the Larry Hembree pregame show. We're on our Where Are They Now segment. I'm talking with 1978 graduate from Loogootee High School, Randy Arvin, in his home in Noblesville, Indiana. And Randy, old buddy, how you doing?
Just fine, Larry. How have you been?
Well, I've been all right.
Good.
Of course, we get to see each other every once in a while.
Yeah, we do.
You're still the king of basketball in Bloomington at the Hyper Building, and have been there for a long time. I was telling some friends here lately that every time we go up to get together to play a little ball up there, you're still the first man picked.
Oh, well, that's nice of you, Larry.
Well,
I don't know about that, but that's nice of you.
You are a legend. Now, you did play in 1978, Randy, and who were some of the guys that you played with?
Well, we had you and me and Mark Gillick and Dave Blackwell and Mike Beasley were the 5 seniors, and then there was some underclassmen, Bernie Butcher and... who all? You'd remember them.
Well, Wayne Sourdyke played.
That's right.
And Richard Birch was a freshman.
That's right. Good players.
Right, all good ball players.
Yep.
And,
younger than us, but in some regards, pretty doggone mature basketball-wise.
Yeah, that's right. I was Richard playing as a freshman. I was
pretty amazing.
Right, many times contemplated how I might handle getting a game as a freshman.
Absolutely.
And we had a tough game at North Davis. We'd been down the entire game, and right at the end of the game, I was fortunate enough to steal a pass and get a timeout, and we designed an out-of-bounds play to me that they couldn't get the ball to me, and Mike Beasley ended up taking a 30-footer, and Richard Birch rebounded the shot and tried to put it in and was fouled and had a 1-on-1 free throw. In the game, we were 2 points down. And he stepped up to the free throw line with 2 seconds on the clock and made both of them. And
is that right?
That's right. And as a freshman, that's pretty good.
For anybody, it's pretty good. That's great.
Now, Randy, you and I both had something in common. We both moved into Loogootee in our high school career and didn't really get to come up in the program. When did you first come into Loogootee in high school?
Well, I moved down. And as a sophomore, and then I wasn't. Wasn't allowed to play. I hadn't gone the previous year to school, and I remember my Uncle Stan, he's passed away now, but he was on the, he used to be a principal in Michigan, and he was on the school board down here in Martin County, and he talked to Mr. Nante and said that I'd kind of been playing a little intramural ball there at school, and I'd like to try and play, and I remember Mr. Nante coming in Mr. Grannon's math class and saying, trying to keep going to school and doing well, and maybe you can give it a shot next year, and that's what happened. And I just had a blast. I was thankful for all that, not only from basketball, but they run a pretty tight ship there at Loogootee, and it was pretty it was good for me, really.
All right. Now, so you really didn't start playing until your junior year, then? Is that correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
yep.
And I know, coming in a junior year trying to learn a system, that can be a little unsettling, I would think, but you handled it pretty well. But as a senior, you became, a starter, and I started probably most of the games anyway. And tonight we're playing a game against Mitchell, and one reason I thought about you is because you probably had the best game you ever had in your career against Mitchell that night.
Well, scoring-wise.
Well, that's always what matters now.
Yeah.
When we get old, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I remember we had them down, and so we was doing that 3 out and 2 under, and so they had to put pressure on the ball, and so that just gave me a lot of little easy scoring opportunities. So.
You're so gracious, Randy. But you had maybe 20 points that night?
I think maybe so. Yeah. It was a miracle. Stranger things have happened.
And
but
I only had 9, Randy. So
is that right?
You were the man that night.
Well, I'll have to rub that in next time we're together.
That's right. And again though, it's interesting. Every time Mitchell comes up, I always think about that game you had that night, and it was a good game. And it's unfortunate. You had a lot of talent, and I actually got to come in as a freshman, so I kind of had 2 years to get ready for my junior year when I first started playing varsity. So that does help, and pretty tough to handle something like that. But also, Randy, we went on and played, and we lost a dear friend that year. Died of a heart attack at 17 years old, Mark Gillick.
Yeah, sure was a fine guy.
Yeah.
Personable.
Personable, and that's quite a shock. That happened over Christmas break, and we all there were 5 of us seniors, and then of course 4 of us we all were pallbearers at his funeral. And
I remember it was a cold day.
Cold, snowy day, just like we're having now, and we came back out and started getting a little better at the end of the season, and made it to the final game of the sectional, as I recall.
Yeah, did Washington beat us on a last-second shot?
I wish they would have. Actually, that year we had lost twice to Bar Reeve.
Yeah.
And came back, drew them in the first game in the sectional, and everybody had a great game, and we won that ball game.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And then you remember the next game against Pike Central and the controversy at that game?
Yeah. What was the controversy?
It was a last-second shot that they had thrown up, and they didn't count it, so we won the ball game. And if you recall, in the paper the next day, there was a shot of the guy taking the shot, and he also had the clock in the background. It said 0, and the ball was still in his hand. So
it was a good call.
It was a good call.
Great.
And we won that ball game, and then, of course, we ran into the best team in the state in the final game of the section.
They were the best team in the state.
And you remember the first play of that game, Randy?
Yeah, I think they lobbed it to Bushy, and stuffed it, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to be in a 3-2, and I think you and Beasley lined up on the same side, and it was
that sounds about right.
And it just went downhill from there. But it was a great time playing ball. What did playing basketball mean to you, Randy?
Oh, sports are a wonderful thing. Like I said earlier, for me, I really think it played probably a major part in my going ahead and finishing high school. I was sort of a little precocious when I was a kid as far as academics, and things might have come sort of easy every now and then, and so I started to think, and maybe I knew more than I did, and so didn't really see the need in school. And of course, now that I'm older, I wish I had more schooling, but I didn't know that then. And I think getting to play basketball probably played a great factor in my go ahead and finishing high school. And so I'd say that probably is the number one thing. But of course, it's good exercise and just good for a kid, really.
Well, Randy, we of course we went on and graduated, thankfully, and I always enjoyed playing ball with you in high school, and we've got to play a lot of basketball together since then, and tournaments and just everywhere. And
oh yeah, we've had a blast. I wish I'd have been a little more, known kind of more what was happening and helped you more. But I mean, you do what you can do, and anytime you're competitive, it's funny. I've heard coaches say this: the losses hurt more than the wins feel good, or words to that effect. And that's just what you do when you're reasonably competitive. You don't really think of the times you did okay, but you really dwell on the dumb things you did.
Well, Randy, the point too being is that we played basketball, and it's been it's been a focal point of continuing a friendship that you and I've had, and our other friends, Robbie Lentz and Morgan Patterson and Jace Magna, and that crew of us that ran some together.
Absolutely.
It's still many times the centerpiece of us all getting back together and being able to see each other.
Oh, it really is, and I tell you, it is something that you can do that doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's really better than, even if money is no object, it's really better than just wandering around in malls all day and spending money and things. It's in my opinion, anyhow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you got the opportunity to play for Coach Butcher. What do you recall about Coach Butcher?
Oh, it was great playing for Coach Butcher. He's somewhat of a legend here in Indiana, and occasionally I'll run into someone, a high school basketball fan that I work with or whatever, and I'll say I'm from a little town called Loogootee, Indiana, and they'll say, "Oh, Coach Butcher, yeah," and they're very familiar with him and what all he's accomplished, and I was always grateful to get to play with him. And one thing I always wondered, though, on Saturdays, he would have practices at sometimes at 10 to 12, and I was kind of thinking, well, why not 11:30 or 12 or even a quarter to 12? But that's.
Well, for those of you who may not know, Randy had the dubious distinction of showing up to practice 10 minutes to 12 night. Coach Butcher was never the most audible man sometimes to understand, and he really meant 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and that it was cold and snowy out, and Randy showed up and looked at me and said, "Blair, man, you look like you guys been playing for a while." I said, Randy, where you been, buddy? And
he always got a kick out of that, and I think you did too.
Oh, I loved it. He said, Randy goes, 10 minutes to 12, he said. I said, no, he meant 10 to 12, Randy.
Oh, it was great. Anyhow, it was great playing.
But that's what makes life a lot of fun, isn't it, Randy?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We had a real good time. And
you remember what he said, though, when you explained it to him? Do you recall what he said?
Oh, I think he probably just shook his head, didn't he?
Well, he looked at you and he said, if you'd been Beasley telling me that, I wouldn't have bought it. But coming from you, Randy, I buy that.
That's what he said.
Yeah. But in closing, Randy, about Coach Butcher, anything else you want to?
Oh no, just real nice playing. Of course, anything you look back and kind of wish you'd done a little bit better for him, but I'm sure he.
Well, we all do what we can do, Randy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had the opportunity. I'm sure many other have. Have you had the opportunity to have any of his backroom office talks?
Yeah, we were. I had that dubious distinction once or twice.
You don't have to tell the story. I was just curious.
Right. Yeah. There again, I think he got his point across.
Well, Randy, I tell you, it's been great. What have you been up to since you left Loogootee?
Well, what have I been doing? A little bit of everything, I guess. The last 7 years, I've had a furniture store in Noblesville, and I just sold it, and so that was a 7-day a week operation, and so this has been about the first 2 weeks in a long time in which I just haven't had much to do, and I'm thankful. I was thankful for the opportunity, but I'm also thankful now to have the opportunity, if you will.
Well, that sounds good. Now, Randy, you have children?
Yeah, I've got 2 children, Reuben and Cheyenne. They're 9 and 7. And they keep us all busy, and my mom lives with Marianne and me, and so I asked her to come up 7 years ago to help with Reuben. Of course, I always did want her to live with us, and she's been with us ever since, and we're just tickled to death, and she's 86 years old and still in good health, and we're thankful for that.
Well, Randy, I would, there's a lot of Arvins in this part of the country. So,
oh, yeah.
So to help fixate that, why don't you mention the names of who your father and mother were?
Yeah, my mom is Eleanor Arvin, and my dad is Orland Arvin, and Dad still lives down on our little farm down 7 miles south of Loogootee, and Dad's doing real well, and of course, we have a lot of family around there, and it's interesting, you go anywhere else in the United States and say Arvin, and people, they'll say Irwin, Urban. It's almost too much for them to, I always thought 5 letters and 2 syllables really wasn't that big a deal, and not really like Schletzenklowski or something, not that hard to spell. But people are really they're not used to seeing Arvin. But then I tell them, if you go to a little town called Loogootee, Indiana, there's and open the phone book, there's all kinds of Arvins. So
well, what you need to do, Randy, is when they ask you your name, say, my name is Magic Arvin.
Well, I get confused with him every now and then.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. Randy, I tell you, it's been great talking to you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure to see you. And now, I know we're going to get together again on March the 1st. There's an alumni game coming up where the graduates of the 70s are taking the graduates of 80 to 85. You want to make any predictions in that outcome of that ball game?
Yeah, I got a feeling. Well, I got a feeling it's going to be a long night for those guys, but I don't know. It's just a guess.
Well, I learned a long time ago that when Randy Arvin's in the ball game, I learned a long time ago that's the good team to put the money on.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Those kids will probably run us to death, but it'll be fun.
It will be fun, and that's going to be at 3 o'clock on March the 1st, right before the pre-sectional banquet. So, looking forward to seeing you then. Give my regards to your family, Randy.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, Larry.
And you take care of yourself.
Yes, you too.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.